everybody. As you said, happy Friday. Glad to have you all here, supporting transfer students through dual degrees and beyond. I'll let you go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. Again, nice to see you all virtually. So my name is Monica Oklatipi, and I am an academic and career success guide at the Center for the Junior Year at Governor State. I have been there, I began there last year, but I have been in higher education for going on 11 years now. So I'm excited to see and talk to and interact with everyone today in some way, shape, or form.
Hello, and my name is Jessica Specht. I'm the director of our dual degree program at Governor State University. I've been at GSU since technically 2008, but really full-time 2010, and joined the dual degree program in 15. This is, I think, my 5th or 6th transfer summit, so very happy to be here and happy to be presenting. It's been a couple of years, so lots of familiar faces and names on the list, so happy to have you guys all join us. All right, so of course we have a little activity just to start things, make sure everyone's awake this morning, right? If you don't mind using your chat function. Oh, there we go. Sorry, I got muted for a second. So while you read through this exercise, if you may use the chat box to provide us with your responses, your thoughts, questions, whatever, and then Monica will be kind of commentating those as we let them roll in. My screen's blocked because I have the share going on right now. But our situation is Stephanie is enrolled full-time, rising sophomore at a community college, high achieving student with a 4.0 GPA. She participates in honors courses, but not necessarily heavily involved in campus activities. Keeps her head down, focused on her academics and maintaining that high GPA, and is preparation for the goal of pharmacy school. So based on that information above, what successes, this is a high achieving student, so we can say a lot about her, I'm sure, but based on that, what successes and challenges do you foresee Stephanie experiencing? And what type of conversations would you want to have with Stephanie? And when would those conversations be appropriate or important? So I will let Monica kind of let us know what we got going on in the chat.
All right, so we'll go ahead and give you guys a couple of minutes. Okay, so Zoe said that while she's achieving, she doesn't appear to be well-rounded, which can play into a holistic review process.
Yes, 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 yes. Already seeing where we're going with this.
Okay, someone else shared that the challenge of a social transition to her next school. And then someone else said this could also play into her scholarships. Suggested that the student gets involved in a professional organization, which can segue into organization at a four-year institution. The student can have challenges. So these are the challenges someone shared. Immersing themselves in extracurricular activities, internships, and et cetera, that would allow her to narrow into her desired program of interest. Also social aspect. Someone else said Stephanie might not be in the habit of reaching out for assistance, for example, tutoring. Someone suggested that Stephanie gets involved is very important, especially when asking for letters of recommendation. And then someone else said, I connect her to our early admissions program with Roosevelt's PharmD program. Students can go straight from PSC to PharmD program.
Right on, right on. All right, well, that's exactly what we're going with. So everyone's on the right page with us this Friday morning. All right, shall we go ahead and move forward, Monica?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Oops. There we go. So first off, let's give a little context of Governor State University. Many of you may be familiar. Many of you in the room may be some of our partners that we're about to talk about, but we are located 35 miles south of Chicago, just the very border between University Park and kind of Matson area. We were a finishing institution, an upper division institution until 2014, where we introduced our first freshman class. It also coincidentally was also the year we were ready to launch our first residence hall on campus. So that worked really well. Right now, our fall 2020 enrollment is sitting just above 4,500 students, just about 3,000 of those being undergrads. So we are still very predominant undergraduate, but we do have multitude of graduate and doctoral programs. 85% of those students, of those undergrads, are transferred. So it's still our bread and butter. It's still what we do and what we're very, very proud of. 60% of those undergrads are students of color, 40% are first generation. So we have a really kind of wonderful spot to work with these kinds of programs and the kind of students that we have.
All right, so now we are going to, let's ask ourselves, how do we traditionally help students transfer and transition into four-year institutions? So let's take a look at that. All right, so traditionally when community college is driven, typically at a community college, the role is usually to navigate general education requirements and expectations, begin major selection. So with that major and career exploration combination of the two, and then students are expected, of course, to complete their associate or transfer without credential. And then once they get to a four-year institution, that institution role is then to form various articulation agreements, offer various scholarships. Sometimes they are various grants that come into place alongside those scholarships, of course, and transfer fairs or events that we have alongside recruitment events. And then we wait for the student to arrive after recruiting them.
So we all know what this looks like, right? That's our lovely Sharita, by the way, one of our transfer fairs, you know. Do we all miss our tables? Can we get a round of applause for missing the table visit? Oh my God.
All right, so now we are going to talk about what if the four-year institution came to the community college to support these students during their transition to a four-year institution.
This is where we're trying to change that script, and many institutions are doing this, and this is how GSU is. So in its first 45 years, Governor State, like I said, was an upper division, transfer, grad, and doctoral, convenient location, adult-friendly class times, affordable. Students transferred to Governor State. It was a wonderful, convenient thing for our region. But it's not that simple. We can't take that for granted. Transferring is complicated, and it's complicated for first gen, it's complicated for non-first gen. And as we talked about our student example, high achieving students still need help. And if we really want them to take advantage of the full scope of what we can offer, we need to work with all students and make sure that they know we're there for them. So presidents from our local top 5 community college, big 5, we call them, for our regionally closest community colleges, plus Triton. So it's Prairie State, Kankakee, South Suburban, Joliet, Moraine Valley, and Triton, who's our little added buddy at this particular meeting. So our presidents got together to do something different. And they created the Chicagoland Alliance for Degree Completion and set out to create something that was truly innovative and significant beyond articulation agreements. And there came DDP. So our MOUs were first established in 2010. We had our first transfer cohort come to Governor State through that work on fall 2012. Our mission is to provide full-time students with an excellent pathway from the associates straight to that bachelor's degree, to create a 4-year experience, but taking advantage of both institutions. With DDP, we did have to create some parameters to kind of capture the students at the right time. It took a little finessing. We finally found the niche, and that is between 12 and 45 credit hours. At the community college, we want them to enroll so that we have at least a semester to advise the student at the community college. Students must be full-time with some hardship exceptions, of course. And right now COVID is interesting, but in consecutive fall and spring semesters, so continuous enrollment through that experience, good academic standing. We have a transfer specialist that the students work with, we'll talk about in a second. And they must complete that associate's degree prior to transfer. So this was definitely also launched during the Obama administration, our 1 million degrees and all these things. So lined up very well with that. And that's what we were looking for. And the completion of the associate's degree ensures students are pursuing a coherent plan, right? And not just accumulating credits and transferring when they're ready to do so. So our 3 large components of DDP are definitely one, our high touch advising. We have DDP transfer specialists that are designated to certain community college partners and are housed on those campuses at least once a week when we were on campus. We're there once a week. Part of our MOU is that space and that dedication to allow us to advise on campus. We require DDP students to check in with us once a semester so that we can make sure that we are keeping track of what they're taking. We're not running off track too far. If majors change, we have that conversation right away, and we can help re-navigate if there's a course correction. We include a DDP study plan, which is based off of our GSU transfer guides. If you've ever checked out our GSU transfer guides, Diane Urbanzik does an amazing job of creating an associate's degree, best case scenario, to then what would be remaining on your bachelor's degree at Governor State. So they're very easy to read, but our DDP transfer specialists further kind of translate that onto a study plan that the students can check off and move through each semester. Transfer specialists also pull double duty and are trained to see the admissions process and be able to track the student's application and give some feedback and move things along if anything gets caught in the way there. Then also our programming, our immersive programming is different again beyond a 2+2. We want it to be interactive. We wanted students to be excited. We want to introduce them to GSU prior to actually attending, providing them access to those things. So our programming really is the exciting part of that to truly get the students involved. We have courting ceremonies at the graduation of the associates as well as the bachelor's degree. We host an induction ceremony each semester that we ask new students at the community college to just attend one as soon as they can so that they can really understand what DDP is and see what's available to them. We host a career and scholarship symposium every year to make sure students are well-versed in what financial obligations school are, as well as what scholarship opportunities are out there for them right now. And then the career piece for capping off and moving on beyond your academics. We also host monthly community service opportunities, and that's really our way of paying forward because of our scholarships. Our students really like to see that resume building and then also giving back to their community that gave to them these scholarships.
Jessica, we have a question.
Oh, okay.
So Leslie asks, since DDP's launch, how successful are those students? What are their completion rates? And what is the student experience like?
That's a fantastic question. And that's actually, I'm going to shelve that question for just a moment because we are going to get that. We have a lot of information to provide to everybody. We definitely are going to get into the data matrix. So if we could hold off on that one for just a sec, and I will answer that inevitably on a couple slides from now. Thank you. Definitely, we are very proud to tell you that information in just a moment. But also beyond the programming and the warm and the fuzzies and the group photos and the t-shirts and the cords, there's plenty of research to show between Doyle, Rosenbaum, Complete College America that these initial incentives and principles do work and do motivate a student to participate. But what else does? Finances, financial incentives. So we have a tuition lock-in. When the students join DDP at the community college, whatever GSU's tuition rate is at that time, they lock that rate for when they do transfer, and they take advantage of that for the 2 years that they're at GSU. We waive their application fee, and we have exclusive scholarships for only DDP students. You have to be involved in DDP, you have to enroll early in DDP, and we have full tuition and fee scholarships, both need-based and merit-based, that will cover both years at Governor State, full tuition and fees. Those are huge for us. How has that moved along? What has happened since then? So since 2010, we applied for and awarded a very generous Kresge Foundation grant in 2012. It allowed us to expand our staff, our transfer specialists, as well as create a full peer mentor program across those campus partnerships. We went from 6 partners to 17 by 2015. As of spring 21, over 945 students have transferred to GSU via DDP. And we'll talk about how many of those have graduated in just a sec. DDP transfer specialists have established a very routine presence, of course, when we were on campus, presence, but also a relationship with the transfer directors, the transfer advising center, our academic advisors in the room may very well know who their transfer specialist is at their campuses. So it's been a really nice advisor relationship between those staff members as well that were on your campus. Led to further initiatives such as our CJY collaboration that we're going to talk about today. Eventually, we did have to transition off the grant, and we somehow navigated through the Illinois budget crisis. It did take some changes, but CJY helped us bring those back. So again, we'll talk about that in a sec. Our peer mentor program is still around. It's just not housed in DDP. We facilitated collaboration between our community colleges and GSU. Our faculty became more connected because they had a conduit to kind of work with and find out. Even with Diane and our transfer guides, really having quick updates and making sure that if there's a change with a course code, course program, that information gets pushed through very quickly and we're able to update those study plans. And we've also, because of a growth, we went from 50 students to 1,000 students. We've obviously had to update our data collection kind of record keeping practices. So these are just some of the pieces that since 2010 we've definitely evolved, but the core structure, that advising, programming, and the financial incentives are the backbone of DDP and are still rocking solid. Now, Ms. Monica, tell us where that went from there.
I sure will. So the Center for the Junior Year, also known as CJY, opened in fall of 2016, but the grant began in 2015. Our mission is to empower students to remove barriers and find solutions to degree completion. How do we do this? Our number one way of how we do things is peer mentorship. So once the program in the center began in 2016, in the fall of 2016, we actually began with only 3 peer mentors. The reason that I emphasize the word only is because now we are at 15 peer mentors. So our peer mentors meet with students one-on-one. We go to course collaboration. So what that looks like is students, for example, our peer mentors, we will go to classes. They will introduce themselves, tell about their story, their GSU experience, and then they will ask engaging questions with students regarding their major, their classes, what resources they are or aren't using, and ultimately in the conversation, reiterating the support and services that CJY has to offer. We also, again, we do one-on-one. We have a virtual CJY chat room via Blackboard Learn. And again, that's because we are virtual, as we know. So in that chat room, the way it looks is that everyone usually enters the main room. And then we also have breakout rooms that we create. So it honestly just depends on the student situation and what it is that they need at that time. Sometimes the student is comfortable enough to talk to multiple peer mentors in the room. Sometimes they want to have that one-on-one dialogue and engagement piece. So it just depends. They also work with our early alert system, our peer mentors. So they do receive the early alerts for students who are having any and all concerns in their classes, whether it's assignments missing, whether it is exams missed, low grades, low grade concerns, whatever the case may be. So they will reach out to those students, and then they also schedule appointments with them. We also have community college outreach. So our peer mentors, as well as the staff of CJY, we will work with students who are transferring from the community colleges, as Jessica just talked about. So we will let them know, what we have to offer, how we are there to support them. Now, if you look at our name, it is the Center for the Junior Year. So initially, when we began in 2016, it was primarily for transfer students only. So as time went on, as the center began to evolve, the university saw a need for all students to be able to utilize our center. But we make sure we really, really hone in on transfer students, since that is how we begin and where we begin. So we do have professional staff support. So that is myself. Again, I am the academic and career guide. We also have the director for the center, who is Dr. David Ray. We have Dr. Katie Pizrick, who is our faculty and residence coordinator. So she works with our peer mentors on professional development. We schedule those for the semester, different trainings that we have for them. And then we also have additional staff that support us with technology as well. So the professional staff, where we come in, is we help them with integrated academic and career preparation, internships, as well as micro internships. So we like to support the students. So sometimes, especially when the peer mentors and they are newer and they are getting acclimated, we will sit in on appointments with them. We also go to the course collaborations with them to make sure they are there to support it and help them guide those conversations. All right, so let's talk about the nexus point for students when it comes to CJY. So academic affairs, as we may or may not know, covers the junior seminars, course advisement, grad student prep, internship prep, early alert, and the honors program. Now, when we look at student affairs typically includes the Academic Resource Center, our dual degree program, our career centering services, health and counseling wellness center, leadership initiatives, financial aid, and scholarships. CJY is exactly what you see in the middle. We do not take the title or duties away from anyone else. So we consider ourselves a one-stop shop, if you will, and also a safe space. So when students come to us, we will give them our advice, give them our support, but we also refer them to other departments as well. One thing we're really honing in and emphasizing on this particular academic year is even more collaboration. So a lot of these resources and departments that you see here on this slide, we have done collaborations with. So Jessica and I work closely together often, all of the time. And then also, for an example, last semester with the Counseling and Wellness Center, we did a 1.5-hour workshop with 3 faculty members also alongside CJY, talking about the importance of engaging with student and faculty connections. So we really work closely together with a lot of these resources so that we can understand them, to make sure that we're giving these students the resources and referrals as well. All right, so the CJY and DDP collaboration started in spring 2019, so not too long ago. So Jessica and I will take this time to talk about, how we collaborated, what that looked like, and expound on that. So take it away, Jessica.
Right on. So yes, this is a cute snapshot, but we're going to dig into deeper in each level of that. So as CJY was kind of settling into the grant and understanding, what structure it was going to take, we let them take that time to do that. Also, DDP was going through a little bit of transition. We had some new transfer specialists and that going through. So spring 19 is really what was solidified, and we were all seeing eye to eye and exactly where this needs to go. So at the community college, DDP is focusing on the 4-year study plan, making sure the academics are linking together, their classes are making sense, they're not taking extra courses. We also want to expose students to GSU. So as you see in the picture here, this is from one of our inductions. And this is when all DDP CJY came in to do a really fun little GSU land game of navigating, challenges as you transfer. So that's an example of one of these little collaborations and how we expose the students to those departments. And we want the DDP students to meet each other. We want them to get to know each other prior to arriving at GSU so that there is a community there.
And then for the Center for the Junior Year, we began to focus on a 4-year career goal. So as previously mentioned, when we started in fall of 2016, we primarily focused on transfer students only. So junior year and senior year students are who we primarily worked with. But once we collaborated with DDP, we saw the need to work with overall students, whether it was freshman year, sophomore year, the list goes on, of course. So we began to focus on that. We also began to connect students with GSU peer mentors. So again, we have a total of 15. With our peer mentors, when we go through the hiring process, we make sure our peer mentors come from various backgrounds, experience, majors, minors, and the list goes on. That way, if a student is to email myself or whomever staff member that it may be, we're able to know right away, okay, we have a student that has that background. We have a student that can relate to those struggles and barriers that this student is currently experiencing, and we can connect the two. We also make sure we connect students to faculty resources. As I mentioned, last semester, we held that 1.5-hour panel with faculty. We also held another workshop this semester with one of our faculty members from the Division of Psychology and Counseling. And what we're really honing in on is transparency. So what we did this semester with the workshop that we offered was pretty awesome. This faculty member did not only just cover what they can do for the student as far as supporting them at GSU, but we made sure that they were comfortable, of course, but they shared their own personal experience and struggles and how they overcame that, which is something that we emphasize at CJY as well. I was in a meeting yesterday and I was sharing with the advisors that I was meeting with that even myself, with the presentation that I began working on this semester, I started off the presentation with an icebreaker showing these students 2 of my transcripts. One was from undergrad and one was from grad. And the particular semesters that I showed them were semesters that I struggled. So we are very transparent with them, let them know, how we can support them, what we can give, and ultimately that all of us have been there in some way, shape, or form, but we overcame it.
And then now the transition, right? In the middle zone there, what do we got going on? So like I said, our transfer specialists are working the admissions line to kind of make sure that students' applications, materials are all coming in on time and everything's processing. Our scholarship period is in the students' last semester at the community college. So while they're closing the book at the community college, they are simultaneously opening it for GSU. So we're walking through that application and having that scholarship deadline is fairly early. Actually, right now for fall, it's next Friday. So We try to hold that early so that the students know early in that same semester that they are receiving a scholarship when they arrive. We connect incoming cohort to GSU resources. So whether it's CJY, financial aid, student leadership, we have students coming in that are ready to go and they want to be involved immediately. They want a position on campus. So we help facilitate that and then know where most of them go to the CJY for that peer mentor job. And, other things on campus, just understanding student employment. And then we also host a welcome courting ceremony where they receive a unicolored cord of their community college color. So we're acknowledging that community college, celebrating that achievement of the associate's degree, and welcoming on down. And eventually that cord will be able to be worn at GSU's commencement.
And then for the Center for the Junior Year, we're working with students with life and career support. So again, we have peer mentors from various backgrounds. We have peer mentors who are working full-time. We have some that are working part-time. We have some that are caregivers for their family. We have some that are married. We have some that have children. We have some that have pets. So we literally have a peer mentor that can relate to students in some type of way, shape, or form. So we talk about experience for careers. We talk about hidden pathways to goals. And then we also continue the peer mentoring. So in this picture on this slide, you can see two of our senior peer mentors, Megan and Eunice, and they have been with us since their sophomore year. And they're getting ready to leave us, so we're pretty sad about it. But they are stellar students, very experienced, but also very authentic, and the students really, really appreciate that. And then also, we emphasize the campus connection. So it's not just with us, when we're referring students, it's not just, hey, go check this out. We follow up with that. For example, I just spoke with a student earlier this week, and I gave her a total of 3 resources on Monday. And I know it was a lot. So after that conversation, the peer mentor and I emailed her, reiterating the conversation, including those resources. But then yesterday, we sent her a follow-up email, hey, we wanted to check in to see where you are in the progress. Did you need any additional help with anything? And the list goes on. And then we also, in the Center for the Junior Year, we provide on-campus scholarship help. We are very thankful that a lot of our peer mentors are recipients of quite a few GSU scholarships. So that said, they are very experienced with the process, how it goes, the timelines, deadlines, and so on. So that said, we host various scholarship workshops throughout the semester too.
And then when they're wrapping up, and the sad part, we have to see them go after all that time. So for DDP, obviously, we're very much encouraging that career and graduate school planning. So whether it's in our scholarship symposium, talking about how you're going to pay for graduate school, to in the career symposium, really getting ready. We have layers to our symposium so that if a student comes a second year in a row, that there's new information or advanced information for them. CJY is part of either of those symposiums all the time. For the reason that we just talked about. Timely reminders for graduation, definitely reminding students that the graduation petition is necessary, and it's very early in their last semester. You do have to petition, and yes, there is a fee. All of those pieces need to happen. It is not an auto grad process. And then also our graduation courting ceremony, which is much very formal in the Center for Performing Arts on stage. We bring family, the president, provost, faculty members are all there to congratulate the students. This photo here is from one of our grads, which I'm going to give a shout out to 3 of those people in just a moment, in a couple slides from now, that they then receive their final cord, which is intertwined GSU colors with their community college colors. And they get to, again, wear both of those at GSU's commencement. And so it's a really nice honorary piece. And we get to acknowledge that verbally also at commencement, that dual cord is our dual degree program students.
And for the Center for the Junior Year, again, we are usually sad. It's bittersweet when they get ready to leave. So when they get ready to leave, we make sure we are prepping them for grad school support. So prep support. So for example, with Megan and Eunice, they are a couple of, we have about 5 or 6, I want to say, graduating seniors this semester. We've been working closely with. So for example, we are going over mock interviews. For example, last week we had about an hour meeting where we talked about, using your employee benefits, such as tuition reimbursement, education benefits, and the list goes on. So we're working with them with their personal statements and just overall prepping them, letting them know that they're ready, but also giving them the tools and resources that they need. And then we also work with them with prestigious scholarship support. So we are making sure we send them any and all scholarship information that they are applicable for. So they are usually pretty excited about that. So they, they're like, oh, grad school is going to be expensive. What's going to be covered? What is it covered? So we usually cover all of that with them, but make sure again that we look for all of the financial resources to support them as much as possible. And then we also work with career transition assistance. For example, we have a couple of our ad hoc peer mentors. They work full-time or they work part-time with nearly full-time hours, so they will come to work as they are available. But we help them to adjust in their new roles as well. So prime example, we have a student that he is graduating this upcoming fall this year, but he's already offered a full-time role for an employer. So he is now an ad hoc, but we help him to attain that role. So again, having those mock interviews, having those conversations during review with his resume, his cover letter, and the list goes on.
Sorry.
Okay.
I lost. So to answer the original question, Accessing Success, yes, very excited to tell you, over 86% of GDP students are graduated or on track to graduation, and that number has stood solid throughout the pandemic. It was that number before, and is that number still. I was very happy that even our students transferred. We had 75 students transfer in this fall, and 92% of them are still enrolled. So even the pandemic issues and little things that we know students are struggling with, our students are still persisting. Our average graduating GPA of DDP students is a 3.61. Very excited about that. It's even higher for our honors scholarship, and actually our promise scholarships as well, teeter between like a 3.7 and a 3.9. 60% of DDP students at GSU graduate in 4 semesters or less because of that early advising and making sure that they are done and they don't have to take at that higher price point. We know that clearly community college is a wonderfully affordable piece. And even though GSU is affordable, it still is higher than the community college. So we want to reduce that, and really let the students just be done as soon as they can. And on average, we award over $200,000 in scholarships per semester for these students. And again, whether it's honors or promise, essentially we are helping the students pay that full tuition and fees so that they do not have debt after leaving. A couple extra random stats I did want to mention. About 72% of our students are female. And that's fairly, and between that and our demographics is equal between GSU as a whole to DDP. It's very reflective of the same. 45% of DDP students at GSU are over the age of 25. So this is a very much inclusive program for all students to take advantage of. If anyone knows they're looking to graduate that bachelor's, we're trying to get them into DDP. Also, so here's what I'm going to put out for success stories. We have many, many alumni that have moved on to career positions in higher education. Our DDP transfer specialist, Sharita Walker, was one of our first cohorts, our first STAs, and is now our transfer specialist for Prairie State, Kankakee, and South Sub. Alex Venegas is our transfer specialist for city colleges. He also is a graduate of the DDP program, following those same footsteps. Bridget Drury yesterday presented with Chicago Scholars. That's one of our alum. I got Melinda Arskadino on the recruitment team for GSU now. So from Illinois, and Antoine Hawkins over in Indiana University. We have Daniel Terry working with the Gloria J. Taylor Foundation. It goes on and on from Indiana, Illinois, all the way to Nevada. We have DDP alum working the good work in higher education right now. So I had to give them all a shout out.
We had a quick question for you. So Laura asked, how are the DDP scholarships funded, with grants or institutional funding?
A good question. And for most of these, we're going to try to save them to the end so that we can make sure Monica gets through some of her stuff too before we get to Q&A. But it is waiver dollars currently. Initially, our GSU Promise started out as an endowed scholarship, but the university did absorb those costs and are funded through waiver funds, state waiver funds. It is an Illinois resident program. We do have undocumented things, but again, I want to wait till we get to the very end of this to kind of push too many of these.
All right, so when we're talking about assessing success when it comes to CJY and our findings, as of fall 2020, we have had rapid growth with campus buy-in. Again, we have professors contacting us all of the time, asking for collaboration. And what that looks like is they will meet with us as the professional staff and then some of our peer mentors for training, assessing what the needs are in that particular class. and then we go forth and coming to the class and supporting those students. Again, in fall 19 from fall 19, between fall 18 and fall 19, our growth went from, I can't tell you the percentage before, but it went to 730%. Again, we literally went from 3 peer mentors, 3 to 15. Last semester alone, we had 17, and 2 of them graduated. Well, one, received a full-time job offer, and the second one graduated. So literally our growth is just rapid and just bananas, quite honestly. A lot of students really tell us about their positive student experience, and it shows because they come back. They may pop in the first time just for a quick question or a class assignment. Sometimes faculty members give these students assignments to come see us for various reasons, but they'll continue to come back, and they'll also refer their friends, which is great, obviously. And then advancing in career and academic goals. So we are seeing students have a very serious turnaround. I mean, very serious. When, we have students, for example, we had a student earlier this week. On paper, she was very successful being a straight A and B student, but she really wanted to withdraw from the university because she was having a lot going on and a very hard time, understandably so. But now in just a short time, she's on it. She's using the resources that we gave her. She's already been back to the center, and she's already also referred quite a few students our way as well.
I'm sorry. We're gonna ask to hold all questions until the end, because I know I keep getting distracted and goofing on my layers too. So we'll wait to hold some of those till the end here. Go ahead. Okay, go, Monica.
So let's talk about adapting to remote learning. So again, we have the virtual chat via Blackboard Learn. Our hours are Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 p.m. And then on Mondays and Thursdays, we are open until 7 p.m. Now, David and I, so the director and myself, we go in person. He goes in on Tuesdays, and then I go in on Thursdays, 9 to 5. We go in, if peer mentors and or students want to come in our office and we have enough space, they're comfortable, we're comfortable, we allow them to come. We have a lot of students who are dealing with, distractions at home, including internet disruptions, including being a caregiver or the house just being too loud for various reasons. We will allow them to come in, but we don't pressure anyone, including our peer mentors. Everything is remote. The platform has interactive options. I talked about the breakout rooms. We have a whiteboard, which we love. We'll put up their questions of the day. We'll put up their random quotes. The other day when it was snowing pretty bad, we had, a snowman drawing contest. So we are very interactive with students there. And then we also have the ability to use the chat, or if they want to use the audio. We even have some students who want to use the video. We tell them all the time, make the decisions that you are comfortable with, but it's good to have those options. So having peer mentors, at least 2 to 3 peer mentors are available in the chat during business hours. And I emphasize at least because, quite honestly, it's usually about anywhere between 4 to 6 there to support students. As of fall 2020, we had 105 student engagements. And those were the ones that honestly we were able to track using Starfish, but we did have some that were under the radar in the sense of they would pop in and then our peer mentors would get so engaged in the conversation, they'd lose track as far as notating that. So we had even more, but 105 was great. And then we also have meetings. So we have one-on-one meetings, those that can be, in the chat, that can be via phone, it could be an email exchange. But the nice thing about having the virtual chat is when students email the peer mentors right now saying, hey, are you available? Students as well as the staff were able to send our link to the students who are concerned, and they can just pop right in the chat, not having to wait if they don't want to. So we have so many options, endless options and opportunities.
And as far as DDP, when we went remote, it was bizarre because we were on the community college campuses. But what it really did for us is, first off, energize our plan to monetize our tracking. It was the program was growing far beyond our data collection capacity. So the university was transitioning to Slate, which if anyone in the room knows, we jumped on board with that immediately. So our DDP enrollment form is in the process. By the end of spring, we will have that virtually through the Slate platform, as well as our event registration moving forward, so we can track that information a little better than just through email. Our virtual office hours or transfer specialists transition to their slate appointment scheduling, are still available though by phone, email, all of that. Myself and my graduate assistant are on campus once a week on Thursdays, particularly as well, or are available by virtual appointment. Again, we're not either forcing anybody to come to campus if they don't want to, but campus is technically open if they need. So I'm there, especially for our residential students. Our student transition assistants have virtual office hours right now, and really what they help with is the DDP thing. Am I still compliant? Where's the scholarship deadline? What's the symposium? You know, it's very DDP centric that we have these 2 student workers to support that on that level, you know, a little different than the peer mentorship relationship. All ceremonies are currently virtual, including induction. I'm dying for a photo op. Many of you may understand that in the room. We're running low on photo stock. Travel funding was redirected to new branding, merchandise, as well as a lot of professional development this semester for our staff and my graduate assistant. And it is definitely breaking our mold of if we are not physically at the campus. For a while, it was like if we couldn't get a staff member to your campus on a regular basis, it may not work. Well, now that has really changed our thought on that. I'm looking at you, Oakton. But we may be looking to expand now because that really changed our you know, being able to see outside that box now and see it very clearly. So what have we learned?
So we have learned peer mentoring has lasting benefits. You know, they're building connections. We're all building connections with community colleges students and having those relationships. The relationships within the university continue and helps our university connect with even more community college students. And then even when we're looking at our peer mentors, they are telling students that they know at, you know, other community colleges or even at career institutions about the services and center and support that we have, which has in turn had a lot of students transfer to Governor State because they've heard about the great services and centers and opportunities that we have.
Yeah, and it's been great as far as, you know, you have to be full-time to be in DDP. Well, there's plenty of part-time students that are rocking and rolling and want to be engaged. So it's really nice that we can kind of play off of each other and make sure that students are getting the support one way or another. And like that, a lot of our students end up being peer mentors right now.
Yep.
So on that note, we are definitely going to take questions because I saw some good ones and then I'm dying to answer. Here's our contact info. We got our email, our respective web pages for our different departments. And then also here we have the dual degree program. We created a guidebook. The Kresge grant allowed us to compile kind of an action plan or describe how and why we created the dual degree program and what we did to do that, what components were there, how we've evolved, and what it's turned into since then, including CJY, our Male Success Initiative, and some other pieces. So I highly encourage anyone who's looking at this and going, so how'd they do that? Or what exactly is a transfer specialist? Please, when you receive it, that is a link to the document. It is on our Opus site for the university. So by all means, click away, use that, and feel free to contact us with questions on it. But now for that, let's get to those questions. Let me back up.
Oh, sorry, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Let me get back to the scholarship question. So we have a GSU Promise, which is need-based, based on Pell eligibility. We have a DDP Honors, which is based on honors program participation or Phi Theta Kappa. And then we have a Chicago Star Scholars, which is a housing meal plan related for our Chicago Star Scholars students who come through DDP. So with those, they are university waiver funds. Some of that did come through an endowed scholarship, but we've kind of moved away from that and allowed it in. We did also receive board approval in 2019 to award our DDP honors, as well as portions of the GSU Promise to undocumented students. So if a student were to come through and disclose at that point, we are still able to work with that and work with the students to provide that, even though it is a quote unquote state resident kind of dollar. And then numbers, yes. So as far as our metrics being included in Eric's presentation, I'm not sure. I don't believe so. I believe, really our metrics kind of just get pushed into transfer numbers out of the university, but we can look at that and see what else we can do for that. Peer mentor positions, how much are they getting paid there, Monica?
Yes, they get paid. They're actually getting ready for a raise pretty soon. They don't know yet. Surprise, surprise. But yes, this is a paid position. And one thing that I really like about the role really quick is that the experience that they gain So we really push them. So we really want them to go even more outside of the job description. So we let them facilitate. And then we will also, so like one thing that I've been working with them is creating a spreadsheet of things that they do outside of their role to add to their resume. So if they facilitated or created a workshop panel, whatever the case may be, then days later we will open their resume and talk about how to add that to it. So they gain a lot of experience and they really, really love it. Generally speaking, we try to get students who are at least in their sophomore year so that they can really get the best of it time-wise. But we do have some students that will come in that junior and senior year, which is totally fine too. And that's another way how Jessica and I collaborate, because I will ask her, just like I did a couple of weeks ago, I will contact her like, hey, do you have some awesome DDP students from various backgrounds that you can send my way for peer mentorship? And we will reach out to those students to see if they're interested in applying.
Any other questions now that we are absolutely 100% love to answer whatever we can? Or did we miss anything? Did we miss any questions?
I don't think so. You guys have just been on it. I love it. I love the energy and I feel like it's Friday. So
And yes, it feels that way. I'm pumped.
Very.
Yeah, thank you. So I kind of look at our participants. I know we got some of our so to give a little shout out to some of our DDP liaisons, we have a point person at each community college partner that is our go-to when we need to schedule events or we need to rearrange some office space or however it's working out. They're approving our students to, giving us the thumbs up that the student is absolutely enrolled full time. What are their classes? Giving us access to that. Again, part of the MOU. So that DDP liaison is fundamental in us being able to do what we do on that college campus. So you may see on the chat there, Sarah Hine over at Prairie State is absolutely one of our earliest champions of the program. I've seen Ann Brennan, I've seen Ellen out here from Harold Washington. And Ann Brennan was previously with Chicago City Colleges of Chicago when I originally started too. So it's just very lovely to see everybody. And it's just a really cool partnership that we continue to be able to grow and get to know the campuses more and more.
Oh, you had one more question. How did DDP develop partnerships with community colleges?
Well, again, starting as an upper division transfer institution, the relationships were there. It was what we served with our community colleges or adult learning students, returning after completing so many credit hours elsewhere. So the relationships were kind of there. It was really in fine tuning, drilling into those advising offices and the transfer centers. That was where DDP then took a step further and created that relationship where there was a one-on-one constant line of communication going between our campus and theirs. Again, it's turned into faculty collaborations where we suddenly want to update an articulation agreement. It's because of that activity that we catch it and see it. Otherwise, it's just a really neat way of our advisors all feeling comfortable. We've had academic advisors come running down the hall when they hear program changes, like, wait, does that make a difference in college algebra? Like, it's great to have that, which again, we really miss being down the hall from everybody because it felt like we were all on the same team.
And one last thing that I put in the chat, just super quick. Our peer mentors also support some first year classes as well. So we have, for example, a master in college class, which is usually typically for first year students who need assistance in adjusting. It is a 1 credit hour class worth with a letter grade. So we do have peer mentors that actually they are assigned in those classes to have somewhat similar to a TA role, yet not quite. But ultimately they support that faculty member as well as the students in that class one-on-one, which is pretty awesome too.
It is. And it's so neat to have a student who came to induction one year and the second they get on campus, they're like, where was CJY? Like they know that that's a home for them already when they get to GSU. And GSU is a very cozy community campus. So it's just added to that.
Well, thank you all so much for your time. If you have additional questions, you can take a picture or copy and paste.
Yeah. We'll hang out for a minute in case anyone's got something done.
Thank you all.
Thank
you. And I'm going to go ahead and add the link for the evaluation just so that it's just quick access. And then we have Birds of a Feather right after this. So starting at 11. So thank you again.
Thank you guys. Have a wonderful